Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Mrs. Umetsu with another helpful tutorial on how to manipulate photos in Adobe Photoshop. Today is March 29th, 2014, and the unit we've been working on is capturing motion or moving objects and creating motion blur. This specific tutorial will cover how to create stop action motion blur, meaning the subject or object that is moving appears clearly as if it were frozen and the surrounding objects or the environment is blurred. With a camera, we would capture this type of image by panning or following the moving object with our camera. But in case you are unable to get that shot, here's how you can kind of fake it. Please keep in mind that since I'm making this video at home, where I have Adobe Photoshop CS5, the tools and menus appear slightly differently than they would at school where we have CS3. Right, so let's get on with it. So first you need a photograph where the subject appears to be in motion. I'm using this photograph of my lovely friend Lily on a sunny day at the park. I've retouched it a little already, brightened it, and bumped up the contrast. So if you need to make those adjustments, do those first. If you've forgotten how to do that, those are up here under Image, Adjustments, and Brightness and Contrast, right there. So, firstly what you need to do is duplicate your background layer. Okay, so that way your background, your original image stays intact, and you can manipulate the background copy without messing up your original image. And that way if you really blow it, you can always delete the copy and reduplicate the background. So firstly, we want to use the quick selection tool right here. And I'm going to select my subject. Okay, try to keep it pretty close, and if it, oops, like I caught a little bit of the background there, I can always go back and delete that part. The quick selection tool is a lot quicker than say using the lasso tool, and it allows you to be a lot more precise, I feel. Because you can use the plus and minuses to delete or add to your selection. So I'm going to use the delete and come back in and delete out that background portion where the playground equipment was selected also. And you can use your Control Plus to zoom in quickly and make sure that your selection is accurate. Oops, I missed a bit of her shoe there, so I'm going to use the Add to Selection and come back in and add that in. And scroll up to see that I've selected everything pretty accurately. A lot of these flyaways, like in her hair, you're not going to be able to get those just perfect unless you sit for like 20 minutes and do it. So we're just going to leave that alone for right now. Now, the next part, we want to feather that edge, meaning we want to smooth it out a little bit so it's not quite so harsh. So on CS5, I have this little Refine Edge tool, but you can also go to Select, Refine Edge, and we want to smooth it to about 3 pixels. And feather it to about 3 pixels. And that's going to smooth out those harsh, sharp edges where we selected. And hit OK. Now, we want to create motion blur on our background. That way our subject stays frozen. But right now our subject is the one that's selected. So you can either go to Select, Inverse, or hit Control-Shift-I. And that will select everything else but the subject. Okay? So I'm going to zoom out here real quick using my Control- keyboard shortcut so that I can see my whole image. And I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. And using the Motion Blur box over here, I can manipulate how much or how little blur I want. You want to set your distance so that your object looks like it's moving, but it's not overdoing it. Like for her, I would probably use a little less blur, maybe a little more than that. That's about good because she's you want her to look like she's moving, but she's going down a slide, so she's not moving at the speed of a freight train. If you were using a freight train photo, you obviously would use more distance and make it very, very blurry. But for her, I'm just going to give her a little bit of motion blur in that background. That's pretty good. You can also set your angle so that the lines of the blur are going in the direction of your object. So she's going down kind of at a downward angle like this. So I think that's about right. You want to set your angle lines so that the blur looks accurate. And I hit OK. And I can use Control D to deselect, or you can go up here to select, deselect. And there we go. That's really it. Using this process, you can successfully create stop action motion blur even if you miss the opportunity to get the perfect shot. As always, Photoshop should be used to enhance good photographs, not fix bad ones. So be sure that you work hard to get a good original to work from, or your final product will still be subpar. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email me at shelby_l_umatsu@mcpsmd.org. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.